So, Alien Romulus is the most recent Alien movie in the franchise, directed by Fede Alverez, starring a brand new cast of characters. Honestly, I am so thankful for this because I think it's something that they should have been doing since Alien 3, if you've seen my previous reviews. Because I think they held on to Sigourney Weaver a little too long when they shouldn't have. And I think, thankfully, Ridley Scott showed us with Prometheus that the movies can do well with completely new original characters. So we get an Alien movie with a brand new cast, including Rain, who is our protagonist, and her android slash surrogate brother Andy, who is a phenomenal character. Like one of the best in the entire series. David Johnson's performance as Andy was what made this movie so incredible. It's surprising to think that this was originally going to be a straight to streaming service, low budget horror movie on Hulu, and it only really got a theatrical release at the last minute. Because holy cow, he acted his ass off, and that deserves to be seen on the big screen. But the movie shows us a unique side of the whole alien sort of universe by showing us some working class, everyday Wayland employees. We've seen it before. They had space truckers essentially in the first movie, and then we had Marines and such. But this is someone who is essentially in indentured servitude on one of their mining planets, and it gives you a look at how terrible the Wayland Yutani Corporation is. If anything, these movies have one moral throughout the entire thing. That's join a union if you're working for a company like this, because your employer would not hesitate to exploit you like this if they knew they can get away with it. But we follow a ragtag group of people who need an android to essentially hop, skip, and jump to the next system. They've detected a space station that they can sneak onto, and then use those cryopods to last long enough for the leg of the journey they'll take. The reason people are stuck on that planet is space travel isn't exactly cheap or easy in this world. It's not like you hit a button and then you warp to the next fucking solar system or whatever. You sort of need to put yourself in cryosleep for long periods of time. So people who don't have access to cryopods, which is the premium luxury, essentially can't leave the star system they're in. So these people are hoping to snag a few and make it across to the next system. And it's a phenomenal story. I think out of every Alien movie so far, in terms of like character motivation and story setup and stuff, this is probably the strongest in the entire series. Although I'm not sure if I'd rank it higher than the first two Alien movies, and I'll get to that. Because beat for beat, most of the part, this does follow the same formula as the very first Ridley Scott Alien movie, with a slight twist on it. So obviously, it's like if I had to compare it to anything, it's kind of like The Force Awakens compared to A New Hope. But they didn't just copy it one for one. They added their own twist and unique takes on it. But it's easy to see where they drew inspiration from, and it's usually from the first two movies. Although, towards the end of the movie, like the last half hour, maybe last 40 minutes, they bring in elements from Prometheus and also Alien Resurrection, which does raise an eyebrow. Because it's kind of questionable, but they do it better than they did in Alien Resurrection, which I actually haven't reviewed on this channel, so I'm not reviewing the non-canon movies. I'm only reviewing the canon ones, so I'm not reviewing AVP 1 and 2 or Alien Resurrection. But if I manage to reach 1,000 subscribers, who knows, maybe I'll just bite the bullet and give it a go. People are enjoying these reviews enough. Yeah, towards the end, we're introduced to a xenomorph slash human slash engineer hybrid, and it would be questionable if that sequence wasn't actually genuinely quite exhilarating. Like the whole way she took out the creature at the end and everything, and just the way it looks and what it does, incredibly creepy. Like I would have a problem with it making very little sense and essentially overcomplicating the plot and the lore a little bit, but the sequence at the end was quite good. So I'll give it that. But it's on thin ice. Now, there are some controversies around this movie, mainly around the android Rook, who is another model of Ash, who was played by Ian Holm in the original Alien movie, but of course has passed away since then. So they used AI to recreate him for this movie, and obviously that creates a lot of controversy because it's essentially digital necromancy, isn't it? And I don't know why studios choose to do this. Like they brought back characters for Rogue One, Star Wars story as well. And I don't understand who this is for because I also recently watched Deadpool and Wolverine, right? That movie was full of cameos. It had Chris Evans, it had Henry Cavill, and that was amazing to watch. Everyone was excited about that because, that's actually them. But when you're seeing a digital recreation of someone who's dead, it's hard to get excited about that. Like, I don't think there's anyone out there who actively is looking for that sort of fan service, if you could even call it that. So I have no idea why studios do it. But I will somewhat defend this movie because the director did get permission from Ian Holmes' widow. And she did say that he did want to continue acting after the Hobbit trilogy, which was, like, I think, the last thing he actually did get to do. He was continually still wanting to act. And obviously, unfortunately, he did pass away before he could do anything else. So I'm not entirely against it because I think the actor himself would be okay with revisiting this if he was still alive. So I don't think it's entirely fair to criticize. I mean, I'm going to criticize it regardless, but I don't think it's entirely fair to mindlessly bash the movie saying AI bad, like a lot of people do. But it's to understand, like, okay, in this case, there was permission granted, and it's something the actor probably would have wanted. But at the same time, I don't want studios to do this shit in the future. I don't care about digital recreations of people. And, like, would anyone actually seriously watch a movie where the entire cast was just a digital recreation of, like, people who have died in the past? Because it would seem very soulless to me, and I don't think I'd ever watch something like that. But tangent about AI aside, this movie is incredible. It has some of the most amazing sequences in any movie I've seen in this franchise. I don't want to spoil any of it in case anyone hasn't seen it, because obviously it was only recently in theaters, and I don't know if it's come to streaming services yet. It should be coming very soon. So I'm not going to spoil too much about the really exciting stuff. But there are characters you hate, and they get exactly what they deserve, and it's always incredibly satisfying when they do. This one was particularly gruesome, which I loved. Although the movie did spoil bits of it in the marketing, which I'm glad I didn't see before I went to watch the movie. But there's one you can't miss, and that's which character gets face hugged. Because it's in every poster. It's in the thumbnail for this video because it's the most viral marketing move that they've done. Like, it's everywhere. So that's one thing you can't really avoid. But it looks incredible. It looks fantastic. The effects were really good. I'd probably put it up there. If I was doing a tier ranking list, and this would go in S class along with Alien and Aliens. I think those three movies are fucking incredible. I think the first two have more going for it because Romulus is let down a little towards the end, and it does depend on how comfortable you are with the AI being used, which varies from person to person, I guess. But it's one I would love to rewatch happily, more so than I would movies like Alien 3, which I did not enjoy as much. If there's one thing I'm hoping for, is to get a director's cut or a Blu-ray with an R rating or something, which you sometimes get with certain movies. But I watched this movie in cinemas, and I went to watch it in 4DX, which is when you had the moving chairs and the effects and stuff, and the air and water in your face, purely because I wanted a really immersive experience. And I think I will time to watch it in the cinema. If I were to recommend anyone to watch it, I know it's a bit late now because the movie's not in theaters anymore. I think IMAX would probably be the best experience. But the 4DX was really fucking good. My only issue is whenever the fans turned on, you could hear the fans in the theater, which is kind of distracting. You'd always know when there's going to be a puff of air in your face because the fans would turn on like a half second early. But in terms of, like, horror movies experiences go, I think 4DX is a really good way to experience a horror movie. I wouldn't recommend 4DX for an action movie or a horror movie because you just get beat up and thrown around. Like, I think the worst experience was watching John Wick in 4DX, and your chair was just constantly knocking you about all over the place, and it made it impossible to take a sip of your drink at any point. But yeah, Alien Romulus, what did you think of it? If you've seen it already, or if I've convinced you to see it, let me know in the comments below. If you don't know what to say in the comments below, just say fuck Bjorn, because honestly, that guy got what he deserved. And thank you for sticking to the end of this video and watching all my reviews. If you did watch them all, I'm a big fan of the series. I've hopefully been doing an Alien RPG playthrough on my D&D channel, which is linked in the description as well if you want to watch that. And check out some of my other videos on this channel. I also live stream if you want to chat with me directly when I'm live. And I hope to see you in the next one. Sayonara.